In the sun-scorched savannas of Makuta, where the baobab trees stood like ancient giants and the ground cracked with drought, there lived a boy named Tano. He was small, dusty, and alone. His village had been wiped away by raiders 2 seasons ago. He had seen it all: the fire, the screams, the sky turning black from smoke. Since then, he wandered barefoot, surviving on roots, insects, and the mercy of strangers. But most days, there was no mercy. One evening, after a long, dry walk across the plains, Tano collapsed under a tree. The world blurred. His body trembled with hunger. He was sure this was the end. Then came the sound of heavy footsteps. Thump, thump, thump. Through the haze of heat and weakness, Tano saw a shape, massive, gray, and moving toward him. She was old, with deep wrinkles and sad eyes. Her left tusk was broken. Her ears fluttered gently, and her steps were careful. She knelt beside Tano, her trunk gently lifting his lifeless arm. Instead of fear, Tano felt peace. The elephant stayed with him through the night, shielding him from wind and predators. In the morning, she offered him fruit from her trunk. Not once, but every day after that. Tano named her Mama Tembo, which in his language meant mother elephant. Days became weeks. Tano regained strength. He walked beside Mama Tembo, bathed with her in riverbeds, slept in her shadow. They were an odd pair, the last orphan of Makuta and a wounded matriarch. But they had something most do not: a bond born of loss. Mama Tembo had once had calves. All gone now. Hunters had taken them. Tano had once had parents. Gone too. Their hearts were mirrors of pain. But in each other, they found healing point one day. In a small hill village, Tano and Mama Tembo crossed paths with an old herbalist, blind, but known for his wisdom. He touched Tano's head and said, "You walk with love beside you. But love in this world is tested." Tano asked what he meant. "One day," said the old man, "you will have to choose between saving her and saving many. That will be the day you become more than a boy." Tano didn't understand, but the words never left him. For over a year, Tano and Mama Tembo wandered together through the wild plains, crossing rivers, avoiding hunters, and living off the land. In time, their story became legend. Children in villages whispered, "There's a boy who rides an elephant like a prince." Hunters said, "We've seen them vanish into the trees, as if the earth itself protects them." And yet, peace is never permanent. One dry season, when the rivers thinned and the air smelled like ash, something changed. The southern horizon glowed red one night. Not sunset, but fire. The next day, Tano saw it with his own eyes, entire fields ablaze. Trees falling, animals fleeing in madness. The burning grass had returned, an uncontrollable fire started by desperate farmers who wanted to clear land, but had lost control. Worse still, the fire was moving fast, toward a hidden elephant graveyard Mama Tembo had once shown him. It was sacred land, where her ancestors' bones lay. Elephants from miles away came to mourn in silence there. Mama Tembo refused to leave. She stomped. She roared. She even turned away from Tano when he tried to lead her away. Tano cried, "Why are you staying? We'll both die." But the great elephant only stared at the horizon, at the rising smoke, and then back at the boy. Her eyes said what her voice could not. "I made a promise. I will not let the graveyard burn." Tano was torn. He could leave, save himself, or stay with her, and face the fire. Tano climbed a cliff to see the full scope of the fire. It was worse than he thought. Flames stretched like waves, tearing through everything. No human could stop it, unless someone slowed it down. Tano remembered the old herbalist's words. "You will have to choose between saving her and saving many." He looked back at Mama Tembo, who now stood between the fire and the graveyard, alone, proud, unmoving. And then, something changed in Tano. He ran. Not away, but toward the fire line. He dug trenches with his hands. He broke branches to create firebreaks. He climbed trees to wave signals. He shouted to passing farmers, even enemies, begging them to help redirect the blaze. He fought with every ounce of strength a boy could have. Mama Tembo watched him from afar, her eyes full of something ancient and painful. Just when all hope seemed lost, the sky turned black. A rumble, a gust, and then rain. Heavy, wild, blessed rain. The fire died slowly. The earth steamed and hissed. The grass blackened, but it stopped just short of the elephant graveyard. Mama Tembo stood on the edge, soaked, her ears flapping gently. Teno walked to her, limping, exhausted, covered in ash. She knelt, and he leaned into her. They had won, but it had cost them both, their safety, their strength, and a piece of their innocence. The story of the boy and the elephant who stopped a wildfire spread quickly across the savannah. Teno and Mama Tembo were no longer myths. They became legends. A traveling bard sang of the boy with fire in his heart. Chiefs offered gifts in exchange for just one appearance in their villages. Traders offered gold for a ride on the sacred elephant. But Teno refused all offers. "She is not a trophy," he said. "She is family." Then came the men from the city, dressed in polished boots and clean robes. They arrived with smiles that didn't reach their eyes. They carried books, pens, and contracts. They called themselves preservers of nature. "We want to protect her," they told Teno. "She belongs in a sanctuary, safe, fed, documented. She will be honored." At first, it sounded like kindness, but Teno noticed strange things. They never asked Mama Tembo anything. Their eyes gleamed when they measured her. One whispered, "She's worth more than 10 ivory hunts." Then came the night raid. While Teno slept under a fig tree, the men surrounded Mama Tembo with nets, ropes, and tranquilizers. She roared, louder than she had in years, and Teno woke up in terror. He fought, screamed, bit, kicked, but they dragged her away for the first time in 2 years. Teno was alone again. His hands bled from rope burns. His heart felt hollow. The morning after, he stood in the dust where her footsteps ended. The trees were silent. Even the birds didn't sing. But grief wasn't enough. Teno swore an oath. "You saved me once. Now I will cross every thorn and river to bring you back." He had nothing, no army, no wealth, no allies. But he had something more dangerous. Purpose. Teno made his way to the city the men came from. It was the first time he had seen such a place. Roads paved with stones, buildings tall as trees, and people rushing like ants. They laughed at him. A wild boy from the bush, wearing torn cloth, speaking in tribal tongue. But Teno didn't care. He found the sanctuary. Guards laughed when he demanded entry. He returned the next day, and the next, and the next, until finally, a woman, a worker inside, stopped him. She had heard the real story. She believed him. "She cries every night," she whispered. "She doesn't eat. She faces the fence all day, as if waiting for someone." Teno's voice shook. "She's waiting for me." Pride. The worker, her name was Amora, was the first soul in the city to treat Teno like a human being. She snuck him in late at night, past the cameras and guards, through the metal gates, into the cold concrete enclosure. And there, in the far corner under artificial lights, stood Mama Tembo. Her skin had dulled. Her eyes no longer searched the world. Her once mighty trunk lay still against the ground. But as soon as she heard his footsteps, her ears twitched, her body rose, and a sound escaped her that shook the walls. A deep, long, aching cry, not of pain, but recognition. Teno ran to her, pressed his forehead to hers. "I came back," he whispered. "I always will." Tears, real, human tears, fell onto her cracked skin. Amora gave them minutes, no more. She had risked her job, her life. "There's a delivery gate," she said. "It opens for 10 seconds each hour." Teno waited with her, listened for the signal. When the gate began to rise, he whispered to Mama Tembo, "Run." But the moment she moved, alarms screamed. Guards charged. Flashlights blinded. A tranquilizer gun clicked. Teno leapt in front of her. A dart flew and hit him in the leg. Pain tore through him. His vision blurred, but he screamed, "Go! Go, Tembo!" And Mama Tembo ran, not away from danger, but toward it, smashing through the gate, trampling fences, charging into the wild darkness. Teno collapsed. He woke up in a medical tent, chained, surrounded by officers and reporters. They called him a criminal, a vandal, a lunatic. But when the news broke that the elephant had escaped unharmed, and that witnesses saw her head toward the plains, the public changed. Outrage, uproar, protests, and the photo that changed everything. It was taken from a drone camera, showing Teno lying in the dust, unconscious, with Mama Tembo standing over him, guarding him even as the tranquilizer took hold. People called it the loyalty of the wild. The elephant who remembered. The boy who spoke without words. Weeks later, after being freed by public pressure, Teno returned to the savannah. He walked to their favorite river, waited, and on the 7th evening, a shadow appeared beyond the trees. Mama Tembo. No chains, no sadness, just her, whole again. She knelt. He climbed onto her back. Together, they walked, no longer just a boy and an elephant, but a story passed down forever in song, drum, and firelight. Sparkle's moral of the story: true love does not chain or command. It remembers, protects, and returns. The strongest promises are kept not by force, but by loyalty, even in silence.